Hello. If you guys can hear me, say hello and let's get started. Give me a thumbs up. Tell me 5 vocabulary words you learned this morning. You gotta learn 5 every morning. Doesn't matter which ones. 5 of your choice. Just make sure you stay on schedule with that. Decide which ones you're gonna learn at night. And in the morning, you wake up and nail them down before the day gets away from you. Right, everybody? So what 5 words you guys learned? Anybody? Have we got some suggestions? Let me know what 5 words you learned. And then we're going to move on to talk about appraisal, also known as market analysis. We will get going. Okay, so today we're talking about appraisal. The first thing you guys have to know when talking about appraisal is what are the 4 essential elements of value? What are the 4 essential elements of value? What are the 4 essential elements of value? Who knows? Okay, I see stud. Okay, you guys remember stud, dust, tizida. I don't care as long as you remember scarcity, transferability, utility, demand. Dust, demand, utility, scarcity, and transferability. How many of your textbooks say dust? I don't know why it says dust. Isn't stud a much better memory technique than dust? I mean, who cares about dust? Stud, scarcity, transferability, utility, demand. Dust, demand, utility, scarcity, transferability. Tizida, transferability, scarcity, demand, utility, if that's what floats your boat. Okay. So when they ask you, is cost an essential element of value? Is cost an essential element of value? Your answer will be no. Why is cost not a central element of value? Your answer is, I don't know why. I just know you don't spell stud with a C. That's all I know. So boom, there you go, and you got it. Good. Excellent. If you guys have not already, make sure you follow us on Instagram, instagram.com/prep_agent. Matthew, if you would not mind, post on the link. I'd appreciate it. We have Matthew Jackson in the chat today. He's our customer service guru. You guys may have heard from him when you write to us through the website. That's what you should be doing. If you need to get in touch with us, write through the website. Trying to write to us through social media is pretty hit or miss. Jackson. Whenever you say the name Jackson, everybody's got a song for that. My song I always think of is that one that goes, I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Woo! I am for real. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about. There's so many songs that are related to that last name. Okay, so let's do a question from the board. When is the market data approach an unreliable appraisal method? A, when there is nothing similar to the subject property. B, all of the options make the approach unreliable. C, during times of rapid economic change. D, when there's an inactive housing market. M. Lewis loves Outcast. Hey, yeah, hey, yeah. I want to be your daddy. Yeah. The answer is B. All the other options make the approach unreliable. So let's talk about appraisal approaches. What are the appraisal approaches you guys need to know for your exam? If your screen is blurry, change your settings to 720 HD. Change your settings to 720 HD, and then you'll be fine. Okay, so the different types of appraisal methods are 1, the market data income approach, 2, the capitalization income approach, and 3, the cost replacement approach. The market data approach, the cost replacement approach, and the capitalization income approach. By the way, today's webinar is public. So if you guys are a premium member, as you know, you get these webinars 7 times a week and you get all the recordings accessible. If you are not a premium member, enjoy the day. We'll do it like this probably once a month where we invite the whole world. Okay, market data approach. So what is the market data approach? What do you guys think? The market data approach. The market data approach basically says, how much are those sneakers? I don't know. How much the ones in the store over that are exactly the same cost? I will base the price of those sneakers upon an equal sneaker that is in the same proximity. Same thing you guys do with houses. You look at comps. You look at comparables. But what's the problem with that? What's the problem looking at comparables? Well, first problem, you're not selling and buying sneakers. 2 sneakers are pretty much exactly the same. But houses can never be exactly the same because you have that element of location. A sneaker you can just pick up and put it in the same spot. But houses, even if they look exactly the same, they're cookie cutter houses, they're at a different lot with a different view, different parking spot, all that kind of stuff. There's variation. You got to account for that variation, which is difficult. The other problem is when you look at comparables, generally speaking, not always, but generally speaking, you're going back 6 months. But what if nothing has sold or been listed or anything in the past 2 years? Okay, what then? Well, then it makes it very difficult. So if you're in a more rural community, it makes it more difficult. Okay? Everybody got that? And of course, if there's a drastic economic change, for example, when the coronavirus hit in March, it was very hard to do comparables in April. So if you were trying to sell your house in April, okay, then it became very difficult to do the market data approach because in many communities across the U.S. and across the world, frankly, as we know, the virus hit everybody in the world, not just the U.S., okay, it caused a drastic, sudden economic change. So it became difficult to do comparables. All right? So that's the market data approach. When would you use the cost replacement approach? When would you use the cost replacement approach? What do you guys think? When would you use the cost replacement approach? The cost replacement approach is used for what is called special purpose properties. Special purpose properties are properties that do not bring in income, or at least their goal is not income, and there's nothing similar to it in the community. So a good example would be like your community library, your school, your police station. They don't have comparables, historical properties, things of that nature. And you're essentially looking at how much would it cost to replace it brand new. What is the problem with that approach? Well, these properties are not brand new. Some are, but generally speaking, the properties we just named are very old properties. And you have to factor in for depreciation. Okay? Dan said, what about churches? Yeah, churches, synagogues, mosques, all these different types of places of worship would fall under that category. All right. Somebody asks, does this apply to Michigan? Well, just so everybody understands, when we do these webinars, We go over the content that applies to everybody, and we do not go over content that's state specific, okay? So it doesn't matter where you are, whether you're in Michigan, Florida, California, you have to know what real property is. You have to know what the market data comparison approach is. We spend time going over content that everybody has to know. So to answer you guys' question who are new here, we don't go over state-specific content here. We try and review content that applies to everybody. For those guys who are taking the test in other states, you'll know a lot of the content is the same. Okay, here we go. Moving right along. Economic obsolescence might be attributed to each of the following. A, the proximity of a noxious nuisance. B, no air conditioning in a commercial building in a warm climate. C, an expensive home that later becomes surrounded by cheaper ones. D, oversupply of similar properties. Tom, in big capital letters, what does that question mean, Joe? I feel like you're yelling at me when you're writing those big capital letters. Whoever thinks that, whenever somebody texts you in all capitals, you're like, whoa, relax. No reason to get all feisty and yell. But to answer your question, I have to see which question you're referring to. But for now, we're doing this question, right? How many people get super stressed when people write you in all capitals? Anybody? It's just me? You're like, woof. Then you go all feisty. Okay, so we're talking about types of depreciation. Before I mention that, you guys may notice the word is highlighted. The reason it's highlighted is so that when you click on it, okay, the definition comes up. Everybody got that? The definition comes up when you click on the highlighted word. All right. So the answer here is B, no air conditioning in a commercial building in a warm climate. That would not be economic obsolescence. That would be functional obsolescence. Let's talk about that. What is depreciation? What is depreciation? What do you guys think? Depreciation is the loss in value from any cause. Okay? There are 3 types of depreciation you guys need to know for your exam. Do you know what they are? What are the 3 types of depreciation you need to know for your exam? So you got economic obsolescence, functional obsolescence, and physical deterioration. Everybody write that down. Functional obsolescence, economic obsolescence, and physical deterioration. What is economic obsolescence? What is economic obsolescence? Economic obsolescence is the loss in value for reasons outside your property lines. Outside factors. What is an example of economic obsolescence? See, somebody wrote a gas station being built. That'd be horrible. Airport noise. A train. Crime. An uptick in crime. All these are examples of economic obsolescence. A pig farm. That's true. They are outside the property lines. Good. By the way, if you have not already, sign up for the question of the day. Matt, can you send that link for the question of the day? And that's to keep you on task. If you sign up, then you get a question emailed to you every day. And then after you pass, obviously, you can unsubscribe because it won't be relevant to you anymore. But while you're studying, it's a great way to kind of remind you to stay on track with your studies. And of course, every once in a while, a question will come in you don't know the answer to, will motivate you to learn that concept. Okay, so economic obsolescence outside the property. Give me an example of economic obsolescence. I just mentioned one. Some of you guys said a highway nearby. Okay, train stations, things of that nature. Give me an example of functional obsolescence. Functional obsolescence. Oh, Matt posted a link to our prep agent group. And by the way, if you have questions about using the site or things that we offer, write to us through the website, and Matt will answer you. Trying to answer them all while in the chat and while I teach is kind of difficult. So you have a question about content or anything like that, about your state, just write to Matt. So Matt, you can post a link to the Contact Us section on our page, and people could write their questions there. Okay. So we said functional obsolescence, 4 bed, 1 bath, 1 car garage, low ceiling in a house. That'd be true. Good. And then you have physical deterioration. Physical deterioration is simply what? Is when the house is falling apart. Okay, good job, everybody. Somebody asked about assumed subject to. That is, we do that when we do finance, which we're doing on Thursday. But real quick, I'll just mention it. When you have assume, it means the buyer takes over the loan. Subject to means the seller must take care of the loan before the property is transferred. Just remember, assume buyer liable, subject to seller liable. We'll go into more detail about that on Thursday. All right. The hardest and yet most important part of the market data method of appraising is A, analyzing the volume of sales data, B, adjusting for difference between the comparable and the subject property, C, establishing the unit of comparison, or D, collecting sufficient volume of sales data. Is there a typo? Did I make a typo? Somebody said I made a typo. Don't do that to me. I'm grammar insecure. Who else is grammar insecure? Okay, we talked about this. Adjusting differences for the comparables. Good. Economic obsolescence in a property is typically A, caused by the aging process, B, a result of poor maintenance, C, a type of depreciation that is incurable, or D, due to architectural faults. I'm so grammar insecure. That's why when I write emails, I tend to write bullet points in outline form. So I don't have to write sentences because somebody would be like, oh, you forgot your comma, double space, period. Bleh. Whenever people criticize my grammar when I write them a message, that's the voice I hear in my head. Your comma, your capital, your period. Bleh. The tense. Okay. The answer is C, a type of depreciation that is incurable. Good. Not always, but typically is. For example, if you have crime in the neighborhood, that means that it could hurt the value, and it's for reasons outside the property lines. And technically, or not technically, but realistically, if you have crime in your neighborhood, generally you just move. You don't really try and fix it. You leave the neighborhood. Vince says, can be cured. Well, I don't know if my grammar can be cured. It's pretty bad. No, just kidding. Okay, I know you're talking about thing on the board. Yes, it can be cured, but it's very difficult to cure. Ugh, reading, gross. How many guys, when you see you have to read the question, you're like, oh, I need a nap? When you see the question's long and the answers are long, you're just like, oh, I'm just going to circle the longest answer and call it a day. Okay, here we go. Ms. Frankel, an appraiser, is appraising a single-family residence for which he has located 6 closely comparable properties, all sold within the past 6 months. The subject property is rented for $2,000 per month. It is a custom-built home, approximately 3 years old. Ms. Frankel will probably give the most weight in her final estimate of value to which of the following appraisal methods? A, income approach, B, cost approach, C, market data approach, or D, gross rent multiplier. And the answer is market data approach. You compare the properties. I see Matt posted our Instagram link again. Follow it, because when I do a post, you're going to look at the post and be like, man, I am smart now. Whoa, I was dumb before, but now I'm genius after I see that post. That's the feeling you're going to get after you see every post that we do on the Instagram page. And when I go Instagram live, you're going to be like, what? I'm memorized. Amazing. Hypnosis is on my smartphone. Okay, here we go. Next question. When an appraiser uses the phrase effective age, he is referring to A, the age of the property based upon its condition, B, the number of years during which the property yield a worthwhile return on the investment made, C, the number of years since the improvements were made, or D, the estimated total life of an improvement. Okay, and once again, demonstrate it's clickable, the highlighted parts, and the answer is A. And if you guys didn't know, when you get a question wrong, or you choose to save it for review, it goes to this right-hand column. I recommend you don't let this right-hand column add up to more than 10 questions. Once it gets to 10, I think you should go back to it like this and get it right, because once you get it right, it goes away from this right-hand column. All right. How many of you guys, when you see stuff like this, you just circle the longest answer? You're just like, I don't know. I'm going to circle the longest one. Sounds right to me. Don't lie. Who's guilty of that? Okay, here we go. The Bauer family owns a home in a semi-rural area, which is about 5 years old. Recently announced plans for a new regional airport will place their home directly in line with the main runway ending 1 mile before their home. If the airport is constructed, will this diminish the value of the Bauer home? A, no, because the noise from the aircraft passing overhead is not recognized as affecting property values. B, no, because the value would increase due to the location to the airport. C, yes, because of functional obsolescence. Or D, yes, because of economic obsolescence. And the answer is D, yes, because of economic obsolescence. Because it's outside the property lines. Saw some people write, no, Joe, I read every question and answer in full detail. Well, whatever, Rainbow Bright, aren't you Mr. Perfect? For the rest of us, we try and do what we got to do to get this thing done, right? Am I right or am I right? Okay. So yes, economic obsolescence because the airport is outside the property lines. It's funny, everybody's like, how many of you guys have kids? And you tell your kids, study, have honor in your work, take pride in your work, and don't cheat, do things the right way, and it'll pay off, and earn your grades, and be proud of what you do. But if I turn to you and say, hey, I got the answers to the real estate exam, you want them? You'd be like, totally, give them to me. Like, what'd you just tell your kid? Whatever, who cares? Give me the answers. Right? How many of you guys are like that? Here we go. An appraiser was hired by Joe to appraise Bill's property. With whom should the appraiser discuss his findings? A, Bill. B, any interested party. C, any party willing to pay. Or D, Joe. What do you guys think? Lisa says, give me the answers. Don't tell my kid. Do what I say, not what I do. And the answer is Joe. Okay, good. The answer is Joe. The capitalization rate is the A, mathematical value determined by sales price. B, presented value based on rate of return a property will produce. C, amount determined by the gross rent multiplier. D, rate at which the amount of depreciation in a property is measured. What do you guys think? And the answer is B, present value based on rate of return a property will produce. So capitalization rate basically takes the income and turns into value. Write that down for me. Cap rate turns income into value. Income into value. It basically says if you're buying a building, that if you place your business will be much more successful. Obviously, you're going to pay more for that building. How much more? Well, that's what the cap rate does. Okay, it helps analyze exactly how much more you want to pay. All right, everybody got that? Now, we're not getting into how to do the cap rate right now, but that's what the premise is. If you want Matt to take your exam, just pay him. He'll show up at the exam center and take it. Right, Matt? I think he charges like $50. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. If he writes yes to that, I'm totally going to like have it out with him later. I was just totally testing his ethics. I was just testing to see if he'd say yes. If he says yes, he's screwed, man. You're supposed to be like, Joe, I would never do such things. My ethics with prep agent are strong. How dare you suggest that? But look what he did. He was like, yeah, give me the money. Totally. I'm like, what? Okay, here you go. When evaluating the data in a neighborhood market survey, a residential property manager will be most concerned with the A, trends in population composition, B, opportunity for expansion, C, traffic counts, or D, special utility services. Some of you guys are still thinking, is he kidding or not? I think he's kidding, but just in case, what's his phone number? Okay, here we go. And the answer is A, trends in population composition. Great job, everybody. Who could tell me the difference between meets and bounds? Who knows that kind of stuff? Meets and bounds. You guys ever heard of that? Some people get confused. All it is a survey method to find how far you are away from a designated point like a lake or like a mountain or some giant tree or something of that nature. It's old school stuff they use like the Wild Wild West. A lot of you guys probably heard of the government survey system that has the baseline and meridian. Baseline and meridian, where they intersect at a point of beginning. The baseline goes east-west. The meridian line goes north-south. Okay, I do a nice little video on that. If you guys want to see, just look up Prep Agent Government Survey System. Which method would an appraiser most likely use to appraise a newly built 1-year-old apartment building? A, income approach. B, cost approach. C, capitalization approach. Or D, market approach. So which method would an appraiser most likely use to appraise a newly built 1-year-old apartment building? What do you guys think? Income approach, cost approach, capitalization approach, or D, market data approach? And the answer is boom, cost approach. A lot of you guys asked about the gross rent multiplier. The gross rent multiplier is basically just a simplified version of the income approach, the capitalization income approach, and it's specifically for when you have rental amounts. Who knows the formula for the gross rent multiplier? Anybody? 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 Who knows the formula for the gross rent multiplier? The gross rent multiplier is essentially just price divided by rent equals the gross rent multiplier. Price divided by rent equals a gross rent multiplier. If you guys don't know about that, I did a video on it, which is really good. It's one of my better ones. Check it out. Just look up prep agent gross rent multiplier. But essentially it's there because when you get a rental property, you don't care about the price, you don't care about the rent, you care about how the two relate to each other. And that relationship is quantified with the gross rent multiplier. And that's what tells you if it's a good investment or not. Okay. Which of the following factors would not contribute to obsolescence? A, out-of-date equipment. B, misplacement of improvements. C, change of location demand. Or D, wear and tear from use. What do you guys think? Who's feeling smart here? And the answer is wear and tear, because physical deterioration is not a form of obsolescence. Everybody got that? You have economic obsolescence, functional obsolescence, and physical deterioration. So don't just say foreign depreciation, economic, physical, functional. You gotta know that word obsolescence. And physical deterioration is not a form of obsolescence. Give me a high five. Everybody give me a high five. If you know that little emoji. Which of these best describes the capitalization rate under the income approach estimating the value of real estate? A, rate at which property increases value. B, rate of capital required to keep a property operating most efficiently. C, rate of return a property earns as an investment. Or D, maximum rate of return allowed by law on an investment. Anybody? 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 And the answer is C, rate of return. Good. Which of the following is not one of the four elements of value? Transferability, appreciation, utility, or scarcity? What do you guys think? Transferability, appreciation, utility, or scarcity? What do you guys think? And the answer is B, appreciation. Why? I don't know why. I just know there's no A in stud. That's what I know. Right, guys? Good. Remember we started this webinar talking about stud and dust? Good. Which also means this is a great place to end the webinar. It's been great today, guys. Tonight, Stu is on the microphone. And tomorrow, there's Cynthia. Okay. And then Cynthia's doing a webinar tomorrow night. This is all for our premium members. So make sure you're there tonight and tomorrow and the rest of the week. Thursday morning, we're doing finance. And we'll go from there. Thanks, guys. Have an amazing day. Bye.